Hello and welcome to another video. Today I have my favorite kind of video for you, a new art supply haul. I got a few new art supplies last Christmas and also for New Year's, so let's check them out. I'm always looking out for new watercolors, new paper or pens to try out, or even new palettes, as you can see here. I'm fully aware that I already have probably more supplies than I could possibly ever use, but you know, who doesn't love to try out new stuff? Because I have so many watercolor tubes, I always need new palettes to be actually able to use them. I already have 3 other palettes from this brand Mijello, which I'm super happy with, so I also bought this big 24 pan airtight palette. I usually paint on watercolor paper with a high percentage of cotton in it, which is perfectly suited for most watercolor techniques. But when I saw this bamboo paper online, I was curious how that would perform with my watercolor approach. I also got a new sketch pencil and 2 small round brushes because my old one, unfortunately, gave up on life. Now let's have a look at the new watercolors I got. These are called the Mijello Mission Gold Tourmaline Two-Tone Granulation Watercolors. I know, it's a long word, but basically these are highly granulating special watercolors. Now, I've been eyeing the brand Mijello Gold for a while now, but I never purchased any of their regular watercolors, so when I saw they came out with this new line of special watercolors, I knew I had to get some. So let's take out my trusted old swatch book and swatch these. For that, I first poured them into my newly acquired palette, and right out the pan, I knew they would be good because they were super creamy, there wasn't any binder coming out of the tube, and I could already tell that they would be of good quality. I only bought 5 of these colors, but Mijello came out with a range of 56 of these granulation watercolors. Now the first of these colors is Aurora Violet, consisting of PB29, Ultramarine and PR112, a red pigment that I actually do not own. So I was very excited for this color mix. Next we have Fog Blue, which consists of the pigment PB60, which is my favorite blue pigment, and PBR33, a highly granulating earth tone pigment. Then we have Fade Green, which consists of PG50 and PY150, which I believe are both pigments I have in my collection. Now with this color I was kind of confused because there were like black grains in the color, and I didn't know where they came from. Now the Island Orange was kind of the underdog of this set because I wasn't expecting much, but the granulation effect was really cool. This color consists of the pigment PB28 and PO73. Lastly, we have Burgundy Red, consisting of PR112, the red pigment I don't own yet, and PG26. Now this color is absolutely stunning and I'm so glad I bought it. Aurora Violet has a beautiful granulation effect with the blue and red pigments separating into pink and purple. The Fog Blue also has a beautiful granulation effect and the hue is stunning. Now the Fade Green didn't impress me at all and I could have easily mixed it myself. The Island Orange is a beautiful rich brown and I love the subtle granulation. Now the Burgundy Red is absolutely stunning and I love it. All in all, these colors are really high quality with interesting granulation effects. Now after this first impression, I searched through all the other watercolors I have to see whether I could recreate the mixes with similar or the same pigments or find similar colors. So first up for Aurora Violet, which consists of ultramarine blue, I swatched the only ultramarine that I have and went on a search hunt for a similar pigment to PR112, which I don't own. So the only red that I found was a cadmium red light, and already after swatching the mix I knew that this wouldn't work. So I swatched Daniel Smith's Moon Glow, which is a similar color, but also has a green pigment in it which neutralizes the hue. Then I also swatched Dania Smith's Rose of Ultramarine and Carbazole Violet, and finally decided that yes, this Aurora Violet mix is unique and I cannot recreate it. Now for the Fog Blue, that's a different story because I own both of these pigments, and after swatching the mix I could actually recreate the exact color. Now I own all of Schminke's Super Granulation watercolors, and I noticed that there are two colors which kind of appear similar, so I swatched them as well. Now Haze Blue already has a similar name to Fog Blue, but I don't want to accuse anyone of anything here. While both colors are beautiful, they weren't an exact match to the Fog Blue. For the Fade Green, it was pretty easy to recreate the exact mix because I have both the PG50 and the PY150 pigments. Because the original mix didn't really impress me, I tried to recreate a more interesting mix with Dania Smith Jade 8 Genuine and then adding the PY150, and also with Dania Smith's Green Appetite Genuine and the PY150. Both of these FINETEC Dania Smith watercolors are highly granulating and therefore perfect for creating granulating mixes. Now for the Island Orange, I don't have PB28 and I also don't have PO73, so I mixed two very similar pigments, which resulted in a beautiful mix, but not with the same as Island Orange. Now lastly, for the Burgundy Red, I do not own the red pigment PR112 and also I don't have the PG26, but I still somehow managed to mix a similar color. Now after using these colors for a bit, you could see the pigments separating in the pan. Now here are the final swatch results. Except for the Fade Green, most of these colors are very opaque and have a subtle to high granulation effect. Overall, I was very impressed with the quality and I will be getting more of these colors. Now my friends, this haul isn't over yet. I still have the Liquitex acrylic ink in the color Transparent Burnt Sienna to swatch. Sometimes I like to paint with acrylic ink, but for this video I had a different purpose in mind. Now I also got this Herbin fountain pen with a converter. So my idea was to fill the ink tank with acrylic ink. Now, I've never used such a pen before with a converter, and I'm not even quite sure what kind of ink you're supposed to put in the ink tank, so here goes nothing. Now, as expected, this was a huge mess, but it was successful and I could fill the ink cartridge with the acrylic ink and then use it. Now I do own quite a few fountain pens, but the problem with using them in watercolor paintings is that you have to use waterproof ink if you want to use it for sketching. So I thought this could be a neat workaround because acrylic ink is indeed waterproof once it dried down. I also got a new mechanical pencil, not because I needed a new pencil, but because I have the irrational belief that a new pencil will also improve my sketching skills. Now this pencil was supposed to have some kind of drop down feature which I could not figure out. Well, and then I started sketching on the bamboo paper because I wanted to try out all these art supplies that I got in my haul. Now my sketching process is super messy and I usually start with very rough shapes which I define more and more until I'm satisfied. Usually I do a quick sketch first, which I refine and only then transfer onto watercolor paper, because you don't want to damage the paper too much before painting. Now I sped up this process for you, but I kept it in whole because it's one of the rare footages of me going through an entire sketch from start to finish. Now after I was done sketching, I cleaned up the sketch and then started going over the sketch again with the acrylic ink. This is kind of a repetitive process because I could already start painting over the pencil sketch. But of course I wanted to use the newly acquired acrylic ink and fountain pen, and also I felt like the sketch still needed some cleaning up. Now surprisingly, it was pretty easy to draw with the pen opposed to fine liners, which I'm more used to. Now onto my favorite part, the watercolor painting. I start by laying out a quick first wash with Aurora Violet and Burgundy Red for the background. I really enjoyed working with these colors because they had such a high granulation effect, so I didn't go for a clean painting, but I intentionally wanted the colors to mix. While I did use an inspiration picture for this painting, as you've seen in the sketching process, I didn't aim to recreate the exact colors, but rather work with this limited palette and only use these colors, which I really enjoyed. I feel like sometimes I get caught up with recreating what I see in my inspiration pictures, that I actually lose my creativity, and working with a limited palette really challenged me to think outside the box. The only challenge really was the skin color, but I just used the island orange with lots of water to get a low saturation, and it actually worked. I do believe I mixed in some pink or bright orange in it though, to be fair. Now for the hair, I also used the island orange in a low saturation with lots of water, but I also mixed in Hansa Yellow Deep to get this golden brown hue. Lastly, I used the beautiful fog blue for the black tights, which worked out beautiful, especially with the granulation effect. I probably should have kept the painting as is, but I got caught up again with recreating the inspiration picture, so I mixed Phthalo Sapphire Blue with the fog blue from Mijello and went over the top again. Now, if you remember from the beginning of this video, I also got this gold pearlescent color, which I also wanted to use in this painting, so I added some jewelry. For this, I used the new round watercolor brush I got, which worked really well because I had a really fine tip. And here's the final result. I just love trying out new art supplies and try out a new approach to my watercolor paintings. I'm really impressed with these new granulation watercolors from Mijello, which I'm sure I will be using a lot now in the future. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me on my art journey here on YouTube. Let me know what you want to see next from me in the comments, and as always, I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye!